Good afternoon and welcome along to We're Not Really Here. We are live from the Etihad Stadium for our game against Tottenham Hotspur. 5:30 kickoff, and of course, it would not be this game if we didn't mention Guardiola versus Mourinho. Always an intriguing matchup, both masters of their craft and tactical geniuses. Safe to say, both tasted loss against each other in equal measure. I mean, Manchester City versus Tottenham always delivers a tantalising fixture. And let's not forget as well, this Spurs team were the last ones to give City that taste of defeat. Since then, we have gone unbeaten. So, all to play for. And here to get us excited and look into today's game is none other than Mr. Joleon Lescott and Nedum Onuoha. What a lineup. I tell you what, there's nothing getting through here today, is there?
Yeah, no, nothing at all. Don't worry about that.
It really is so great to have you on, gents. Nedum, I'll begin with you because we were together for the Liverpool game. Still riding high, or have we come down slightly?
I was more nervous about that game than I am for this one, but I do obviously have my anxieties and stuff. Being like a City fan from before the glory days, you know what I mean? It exists.
I wasn't nervous about that game, to be honest.
Really?
Going to Anfield with no fans. Mate, I wouldn't be nervous for any team.
We needed you.
Yeah, you need to sign that exactly. But yeah, this is every game between now and the end of the season is a huge game. You know, when you have the goal of winning every trophy that is available, you know, every game matters. So this is another game where they're going to give it, 100% in terms of the preparation, and if their mindset is where it has been for the previous 15 games, then I think we can expect a pretty solid result.
Beautiful stuff. And I mean, we mentioned that at the top of the show, Joleon, last time out, of course, it was the 2-0 loss. Feels slightly different going into this game than it did back in November, do you think? It's a different City team.
Oh, 100%, and a different Spurs. So, obviously, two teams probably opposite confidence-wise, showcasing their abilities in different ways now, and there'd be no kind of dwelling on revenge or anything like that. We've won 15 games. Now, that'll be in Spurs' mind, and can they kind of prevent City from scoring? If they do, they're going to have to score more, in my opinion. They're going to have to score more than one goal because the way we're playing, dominant. Yeah.
We're putting a few past teams quite easily at the moment. Fingers crossed we can do it to this Spurs team. The players that are going to be taking the pitch, trying to do just that, are as follows. This is our lineup as chosen by our manager, Pep Guardiola. Ederson starts in net. We have a back four of Cancelo. Stones and Laporte are partners in the middle of the pitch with Zinchenko at left back. A middle three of Rodri, Gundogan and Bernardo. And a front three of Raheem, Foden and Gabriel Jesus. On the bench, Zach Stefan, Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Sergio Aguero, Fran Torres, Benjamin Mendy, Riyad Mahrez, Eric Garcia and Tommy Doyle. One name on the bench that I'm sure we're all delighted to see. We'll get into that in just a second. But first standout for me, Joleon, was of course Diaz on the bench, and it is a partnership of Stones and Laporte, and we know what happened there last time, don't we?
Yeah, of course. Disappointing for Diaz, obviously, the way he's played so far since he joined the club. I think he's kind of proved himself as the mainstay in the centre-back position, but for whatever reason, Pep hasn't picked him or deemed him fit enough to play, and I'm sure Laporte is relishing this opportunity because I think up until that Spurs game, everyone deemed it was going to be Laporte and Diaz, and obviously his performance in that game meant him out of the team, and since then John Stones has grabbed his opportunity with both hands. Yeah,
it's kind of been, one story for one and the complete opposite for the other, Nedum. How tough will that have been for Laporte? Because I remember when we were doing them shows after that game, he wasn't even making the bench, to come back and then try and think, how can I break this solid partnership? It must have been tough.
Yeah, it definitely would have been tough, but I think at times when you play for a team who are ultimately playing 50, 60 games a season, you have to think bigger picture, and you want to be part of a winning side, and if you're not playing because two people doing exceptionally well and the team's continually winning, I think that if you're selfish, maybe you start going down with feeling sorry for yourself and so on. But for someone like a Laporte, and think of the players within this side, you have to realise you earn the right to be in the team, and you have to be ready when the opportunity's there, because very quickly those moments can just pass you by essentially. And I think, to be fair to him, considering people didn't think he was going to get back in the side when Stones and Diaz were doing so well, he's gone in and he's contributed quite a lot in this period of games where they've won so many.
The only thing on that, is I hope they don't compete for the place to play with Diaz, because we still believe that Diaz is the guy.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't see this game as an opportunity to prove they should be playing.
But why not though?
Because I think that's what's hindered us in the past. I think the kind of biggest compliment I can play Diaz and Stones is they look like a partnership, not vying to be the best centre back. I think we don't need that. I think that's probably hindered John Stones in previous years with Mendy.
Yes.
I think they kind of were vying to be Laporte's partner or Vinny's partner and wanting to be the best player. When I think, you'll know, partnerships, it has to be a partnership.
Yeah.
This could, sorry to jump in again,
No,
but
please.
I'm enjoying this back and forth because you're my OG.
This
you know
is
what I
what
mean?
we came for.
Like, I understand what you're saying and I agree with it, but then also Laporte could be looking to form a partnership with Stones. So you can talk about him playing well as an individual, but maybe he thinks to himself, if he can do well with Stones, then he's going to be playing alongside Stones when the season draws towards like its business end.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what I hope. But as I said, there hasn't been enough evidence for me to think that yet. And again, with Diaz, I think we could all agree if this is Champions League final, Pep's best 11, Diaz is the main centre half, and then we don't know who else he would partner with him. And again, that's what I'm suggesting.
That was going to be my next question. I mean, I don't know if we've seen enough of maybe a Laporte and Diaz partnership, but in your opinions, who do you think is maybe City's strongest partnership?
Wow, to jump in, it's a good question. But if you think about it, in recent weeks, and City sometimes have looked their best when they've had a Stones, Diaz, and a Laporte in there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because then it frees up someone like a Cancelo to go and play higher up the field, but you still also have the security of having three essential centre backs there. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out, who's the best partner. No, you could say which is the best trio. And to be honest, I think City have looked the most solid when those three have played together.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bad option. You're not shipping in 5 goals.
It's a good problem to have.
Oh, definitely. But Nedum's the same as me. I'm guessing that you don't want to be treated fairly. And for me, Stones hasn't done anything wrong for him not to be that guy.
Yeah.
I think he waited for his opportunity. Laporte kind of was out the team. He came in, and since that, he's kind of ran with it. So for me, that would be my choice, just from the sheer fact of he hasn't done anything wrong not to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping on that side of the pitch, Zinchenko starts at left back and Cancelo the other side. I mean, I mentioned the fullbacks because we know how deadly Son is, and he loves scoring against City. You were saying, Nedum, before the game that probably, and Joleon actually, I think, maybe Son will move to the other side, depending. So for Zinchenko, tough matchup, do you think?
It is. But I think, to go back to last week, I thought he did really well against Salah.
Yeah.
I thought he did really, really well.
Yeah.
And the way that Salah plays in terms of being a threat behind and being a goal scorer, you could argue that's quite similar to Son. And I think going into the game, maybe Salah would have fancied that matchup against Zinchenko, but the fact of the matter was, it was a good battle. And I think Zinchenko ultimately came out on top. So I think Pep wouldn't choose him for this match unless he believed that he could help to deal with Spurs' attack.
Yeah.
And I think as well with Pep, he seems to be somebody that learns. You'll do well to beat Pep twice in a season, with the same sort of issues. And I think he's looked back at what happened in the last game. I think he's seen what Spurs are doing right now. And I think he would have made adjustments. So even though Zinchenko's playing, I think he's still playing a particular role. And everybody who's back there is ultimately going to make a big difference.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention as well, Gabriel Jesus, he's kind of been coming back into the side. It's quite interesting, Joleon, because, we've been so used to kind of now seeing that false nine and we're reaping the rewards of it. But what do you think Jesus will be able to bring to this kind of team now he's finding his form again?
I don't feel he'll play centre forward today.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could see him out wide. And then one of Phil Foden or Raheem in the middle, rotating with the 4 in there. I think we've seen that, and I think that suits his game style best. I don't think he wants to isolate himself and be that guy. I think he gets bored doing that.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the past his best performances have been when he's energetic and he's running around and he's closing down and he's doing other things rather than just isolating himself. And again, we're always going to compare him to Sergio, and I think that's what Sergio does best. So they have different attributes that suit the style, but since he's come in, I think he's played more away from the number 9 and realised, anyone can fill that void, and I just have to contribute in other ways.
Yeah, and there was actually a great example of that when he came on against Swansea. I think he kind of really turned the game around there. Final word, I know because he got Player of the Month, Ilkay Gundogan. We were touching upon him before, but he just seems to be getting better and better.
He's impacting games in a way that most people probably never saw possible. And he's not just scoring goals, scoring big goals. And, and when we were on against Liverpool, he missed the penalty, but I was saying he's going to impact this game again. He's going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. He's going to have a big moment. And even though he's scoring in the 6-yard box, you look around and not everybody's in there, but he has that desire to go and try and have that positive impact for the team. And also he's there in terms of linking plays, there in terms of defending. But he understands those real big moments, and he's really thriving at the moment. He's not just going out and doing it solo. He's working as part of the team, but he seems to be there at the moment when it matters most.
Only because I know you've got great insight, both of you. What's changed? Has he changed anything about his game for him to find this form?
He just scored goals, and I think that the false nine has suited him the most because, again, we've having 3 or 4 midfielders in there. They've been able to rotate who plays the highest, who sits in and covers, and obviously his IQ is ridiculous. But I don't think his performances have been, in general, any different to what he's done the whole time he's been here. His goal contribution has been noticeable and he's scoring more goals, but in terms of his overall performance, he's doing the same things. He's working hard defensively, he's getting on the ball and creating passes, and as I said, I just think he's going more noticeable because we haven't had a Sergio that may be on 15 goals at this stage of the season, or Kevin De Bruyne.
And I think as well, in the time that he's really started to thrive, I think there's been more of a predictability about City in terms of the way that they play. And it's very, very hard to play against, but he knows when the ball goes to this person, it's going to go to that person, and the ball's going to make its way into the box within a certain time. So he's timing his runs better. He knows if it goes to this guy, there's going to be a cross coming in. He knows if it goes to this person, there's an isolation, there's going to be a cutback. And I think when you have that level of confidence in your teammates, you make better decisions. You don't have to think, is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? And some of that consistency comes from the fact that they're winning every single week. The confidence is high, so game plans can be bought into a lot easier than, say, if you weren't scoring goals or if you weren't winning games.
And I guess then is that when we see teams in a flow and where City are at the moment, and I guess you'd have experienced it when we would have had that amazing season and won the league, that everything is just clicking.
Oh yeah, definitely. Once you kind of buy into what the manager, the coach is saying, and you see it work, well, why have I got any reason to doubt it? It works again. All of a sudden, you're 9 wins in, and now you're recognising them patterns and seeing them things and making the right decisions, as Nedum says, on the field without being told. And the more you do that, you kind of it just becomes second nature. And it's just, as I said, it's just a rhythm of, oh yeah, we've been here before. I've seen that move before. I know what he's going to do in this scenario. And the outcome is 9 times out of 10 a goal.
And that works all around the field as well, because we've spent probably the last 6 to 8 weeks talking about the partnership of Diaz and Stones as well. And that is coming from knowing that if you go here, this guy's going to go here. This duel is going to happen here and I'm going to fall here. I trust that I can go in for this duel because I know my partner's directly behind me. When you have that level of confidence in the predictability of the people you have around you who are also incredibly talented, what have you really got to worry about?
So true. Let's touch upon the last time out. Back in November, of course, it was 2-0, and you said, Joleon, it's the 2 very different sides now. But it did mark the turning point. What has changed about City since that point?
I think the setup. I think it's evident now the protection that Pep's realised he needs for the back 2 at times. I think it was kind of a back 2 and a holding midfielder that was kind of there, and the fullbacks were high in transition, where I think he's thought, no, let's isolate our wingers, let them be the highest on the focal point of our attack. The fullbacks are coming inside, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll see the 2 centre-backs and then a 3.
Yes.
It's maybe different when it's Laporte in there with 2 centre-backs, so it may be a 3 and a 2, but there's always 5 covering. And again, they're high up the field, and they're in the opposition half, but they're kind of less susceptible to the counter-attack.
There was also something, Nedum, and I'm hoping you might be able to explain it a bit more, but I've been reading some interviews from Pep, and he talks about how they wanted to go back to basics and kind of felt that they were running too much with the ball. Running too much. So, can you explain what he was meaning by that? And kind of,
I might not be able to explain exactly what it is, because I didn't quite read from the same manual that he did. But I think there's something to be said for players who put themselves in the right position. And from when you're in the right position, you don't necessarily need to vacate it, because it still remains the right position. So I would say most of the time running is spent getting into those spots. And passing, move and all this stuff is very, very important. But I know as a player, if I have the ball, I just want people in the right spots. I don't want to see them necessarily just running around. And even though, say, at the back, City move the ball side to side, inside and so on, it's the opposition who you're really moving. And then at one point, there will be space and there will be a pass, and the right pass will be on. And as a consequence, you'll be able to break through a side. And it's not because the 10 ran 30 yards this way or 30 yards that way. It's because everything else around it has moved to a point where the 10 has become free. So you didn't run to get there, but you were in the right spot at the right time.
I've heard Pep say it before, you have to be patient, have to have patience in possession. So let the ball beat the man that's meant to be marking you rather than the opponent dribbling. So you'll see people in the spaces just behind their marker, because as a footballer, 9 times out of 10, especially forward-thinking players, when the ball goes past them, they're not susceptible to running back. Like the ball's gone past them, the man's past them, now we're past them, and all of a sudden you're looking at the back 4. And I think that's what's more evident for me, is that people are getting to their position, like Nedum says, quicker and waiting for the ball to come to them rather than, I can't remember any of our lads looking and saying, oh, he's dribbled past 3-4 players there.
Yeah.
It's the ball's gone past him and you're free.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to rely on magic to get the ball to those people. You don't have to force a pass because the right pass will come. But what a great position to be in, whereby, say, people on the other side of the midfielders for City trust that the people at the back are moving it around correctly. Trust that the six is always wanting to receive the ball, always trying to get on the half turn, always looking to try and play a progressive pass. And you just, as I say, you trust them. You don't fear it. You don't have to come back because you worry. Like to go back to my many moons ago, like when I was playing, if I was playing right back or something, and the keeper rolled the ball to the left back, and then he rolls it to the centre back, and then back to left back, I'm like, I'm coming back here because I know this is bad news. This is bad news. But they don't do that here because they trust that people are going to make the right decisions.
Also, the times have changed is where the opposition respect that as well. So the press isn't as evident like before. Again, I've played in teams where you have a couple passes. The team is thinking, hold on a minute, let's press them. Let's go long. Where no, it's like no, drop, because if we press them and they're waiting for us to press so they can go long. It's not just a long ball anymore, it's a long pass.
That is such a great point, and I think in terms of how we beat Liverpool last week and watching, say, Barnsley v Chelsea the other day, there are certain teams where I felt in my career you could go out and press them because they refuse to kick it long. And those teams there, even though they look nice and they might break you a few times, they'll ultimately give you an opportunity because they don't, because they don't think about the game in terms of risk. But say for a City, when they're at their absolute best, right, you can come and press them. Before you know it, you've left it 3v3 at the back, and you're playing the ball over the top to a Sterling, to a Torres, to an Aguero, to whatever. And then, do you really want to do that? So no, you don't. And that's the thing I said as well about the front three, because they're pinning back those defenders. They're not coming back to get involved to try and get a touch of the ball. They're doing a specific job.
It's not even a front three now because it's the two wide players. You have to have a back four because your centre backs can't be out wide. It has to be your full backs, and your centre halves ain't going to go and stand in midfield. So before, when it was probably just the striker stays forward, your full backs can still get high. But now Pep said, no, I want my wingers, my two widest players to stay wide. Now you have to think, well, it's a back four now.
And as well, some teams do that right when they play the false nine because it makes the two centre backs redundant. And they can't just get up and go and just say, I'm just going to go and get involved in midfield. So you create an overload somewhere because you know that the people who can't move from their slots will be the last line of defence, the two centre backs waiting back there. And it's, as I say, it's perfect. And when you have a team, as I say, like City, who can play it, or they can try and send it over the top with a goalkeeper and can knock it 100 yards, like accurately as well. Like, you're on the back foot for most of the game.
It really, I mean, it literally is poetry in motion, isn't it? Quite literally.
It really is,
well, we've tried to get into his mind, but we can hear from the man himself right now. This is Pep Guardiola speaking ahead of our game against Spurs.
Pep, we just spoke to João Cancelo, who said, we remember they are the last team to beat us, so we know they can be dangerous. Extra concentration today.
Yeah, not just for the fact they beat us. Any team can beat another one. It was a long time ago already. It's because they are in that moment. Last season, this season, they have an exceptional players. So you see the lineup, it's a good squad, a really good team.
It was interesting as well yesterday when you said just because we won the last 15 games, it doesn't mean we start today 2-0 up. We start again every match.
I think it's one of the more wise thing I ever said in my career. So for sure we're going to start 2-0.
Unfortunately, you lost your partnership of Diaz and Stones. Is he only just well enough for the bench then?
That Ruben didn't training last week, just yesterday, the first day. He had a fever and he didn't feel good, and I may play really well in Swansea, and that's why I played today.
Sergio Aguero is on the bench. You always say about him, step by step. In an ideal world, would you like him to get some minutes today?
Yeah, I would love it. Important is already back, training with the team. Last 2 or 3 days, yesterday training, and I said, okay, why you don't you come, to the bench and start to be in the dynamic of the day of the game. So he said, yeah, come on. So after we'll see.
Thanks, Pep.
Yep.
That is Pep Guardiola there, and of course, nice to shine a light on Diaz being on the bench just at his first training session back yesterday, by the sounds of it. We can actually say now that Pep has joined us in the studio. Here he is.
Look at that
And
coat.
how have you got your hands
It doesn't
on
matter.
arguably the nicest coat in football?
Man like Pep came through. I did give him a little text and say Pep didn't roll out for the weekend.
Oh, it's even better in person.
Oh,
I mean,
or even
what do you
better on
think?
me.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah. What size is that?
It's not fit all anyway. It doesn't fit all.
What size is
Data.
it? What
My
size is it? Franco, we'll see about that. We'll
It's
see
going to
about
be
that.
interesting if you leave with that coat after today's
wow.
game, Joleon. Yeah. I've had eyes on that since I've seen it on Pep.
I think it's probably going to be a bit too big for you, though, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's going to be like a sleeping bag.
Yeah, true. I don't mind that though. I don't mind that. He was speaking there and kind of touched upon obviously the 2-0 last time. It's a slightly different Spurs team that we're coming up against, and they seem to be going for it. We can bring you the Spurs team now, but what formation do we think that they're going for? Is it a 4-2-3-1? Do we think?
Would you say so? I think so.
Yeah, I would say.
We've got Lloris in there, and then it's Tangana, Sanchez, Dyer, Davis, Højbjerg, Ndombele, Lamela, Lucas, Son, and Kane. So interesting seeing Lamela, Lucas, Son, and Kane.
That's kind of how they finished in midweek, wasn't it, against Everton? So is that the go for it team then?
It feels like it, because we're going to get into Mourinho, but I was going to ask you, do you think Mourinho's going to come here to park the bus, or is he going to go for it, do you think?
If he parks the bus, that's a smaller and quicker bus than usual. Let's just say that.
Yeah. It's a minibus.
Yeah. But it's got a bit of juice. It's got a bit of juice to it, though. Yeah, it's I think it looks like he's trying to go for a shootout here. Like, those players on there will defend the front four or whatever, but to see that many of them, I thought he would have gone for a 5 at the back, try to shore up midfield, but he's made his intentions clear to me, and he's got some people who can score goals there.
Yeah.
So
But
this
saying
should be
that,
a good game.
Lamela and Lucas, they work hard. You know what I mean? They're kind of his type of wingers that, yes, they can create moments, but their work ethic off the ball is good. Mm-hmm. So
it's always an interesting rivalry, isn't it? The Pep Guardiola one. I mean, I think this is their 25th meeting, and you can't help but think of Barca and Real. Interesting though this week, because Mourinho talks about their personal relationship actually seems to be kind of in a really kind place. I think Spurs reached out to Pep when his mum passed, and similarly heard that Pep had done the same for him. So is the rivalry kind of not personal? It's more business, Nedum or Joleon? Do you think?
yeah, the same. I would say it's business. I think that's what most rivalries are, unless you've had a negative personal experience. There's no reason to suggest it wouldn't be anything other than just my team wants to beat your team. Like you said, when football is important to us all, but it's not the most important thing. And when things like that happen, you reach out to people you respect, and obviously that's what they've done.
Yeah, I think they maybe had a few issues in Spain for a couple of Clásicos or whatever, but I think the fact of the matter is, in this generation now, when you look at Pep Guardiola, you look at Jose Mourinho, they don't manage teams who aren't trying to win titles. So as a consequence, when they come up against each other, it's a significant rivalry. I think if there's ever a point whereby one's playing the other and the other's not playing for something, then it shows that the managers maybe are on the decline or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, a win against whoever wins that game will be gaining something from it.
Yeah.
Because of the fact is, whether or not it's achievable for Spurs this year, I'm not sure. But the fact is, they're trying to play for something, and they have a shared goal. But unfortunately, one person can win that.
Them rivalries probably enhanced because it's Messi and Ronaldo that the teams they're managing. That's always been a rivalry as well. So I think if two of our players had that same rivalry, then that maybe enhance it again. And I think if it's Chelsea's Mourinho and Mourinho's Chelsea and Pep City, I think again that would, because it would have been title contenders. Like here now, it's their rivalry, but it's not a City-Chelsea rivalry.
Is it kind of a style rivalry then? Because for me, they kind of are the complete antithesis to each other's styles. You've got, Pep Guardiola's approach.
That's a great word, by the way.
Thank you.
It's a great
Cheers.
word.
I don't even know what it means. But
It's all right. We'll explain it in a second.
Thank
but
you.
you've got, Pep Guardiola, who plays attacking full-flown football. Mourinho in his prime was known for the solid defensively. We're happy to have 10 men behind the ball. So do you think that is what feeds in the rivalry? It's the two contrasting things going head to head?
I think so. I think that's what makes it better, because you could have two managers who ultimately just want to play really nice football all the time, control the game, possession, this, that, and the other. But then sometimes it misses that little bit of an edge. And I think for Pep and for Jose, I think the edge is there because the contrasting styles is there. Like coming here today, if Spurs would have completely parked the bus, then that in some ways is a nightmare for Pep, because he wants them to come out a little bit and try and pass through them. And same for Jose, a team that just continually moves the ball. He's going to be saying to his players that doesn't matter, even though he has players in his team who are more than capable of doing the jobs which are going on in the City right now. So it's always an interesting game, and no matter which clubs they're at, you know, in terms of whether it's a Barcelona, Real Madrid, you know, Chelsea, see whatever. The fact of the matter is, it's an intriguing game because of those styles.
Yeah.
Because if they had the same style, you know what to expect. But with this, you don't know.
Yeah, and that's the difference. Like, that's what I find in most European countries is that the teams play the same way, and the best teams that play in that way 9 times out of 10 win the game, and it's not a rivalry. You know, like even Madrid, Barcelona, it was a rivalry because they didn't want to play the both same style, tiki-taka style, and it was just like, well, no, we're finding a way to win, and you're going to play your kind of possession-based style, and that was great to watch.
Yeah, and we've got that coming up hopefully a little bit later on. Well, actually later on, say around 35 minutes time. Now, we all love a derby win, and that's exactly what our women's team did yesterday. 3-0 win over Manchester United. Quite a dominating performance, but capped off by arguably a goal of the season contender from Caroline Weir. If you've not seen this, well, I'm just going to let you watch it, and we'll come back and talk about it.
And it comes, and Torres Dotter's header up into the dark skies above. Oh, it's been fired back in by Lucy Bronze. And City are off and running midway through the first half. And United undone by a set piece again. Lads. Good to try and play the way out from the back, United here. Weir. It's towards White. And she's there again. And Herbs keeps her out. The acrobatics from Ellen White. Denied by Mary Herbs. Amy Turner taking it first time. Similar to what she did at Arsenal at the weekend. Chloe Kelly. Batia in the way. First job as a fullback. Stop the cross. She's done that. But Kelly's winning back again here. Palmed down by Herbs. Oh, it's going to go in. It's Lauren Hemp. It's 2-0 City. And that might just be the goal that brings City derby joy tonight. Oh, Mary Herbs doing all she could to keep City out. Here's Weir. Greenwood for White, and there's Hemp, and Herbs doing her bit. 2 with the layoff, doesn't find Cronin. That's Weir. Oh, that's outrageous! That is outrageous from Caroline Weir. Sensational. Well, if a goal against Mary Herbs at the Etihad at the start of last season was good, this might just be better. What is it about Caroline Weir scoring worldies in a Manchester derby? Absolutely sublime.
Absolutely outrageous. She's done it before, and another worldie again. Lads, I mean, honestly, the technique and
ridiculous.
That's outrageous.
I could never do that. I can't do that.
No,
Look to see the keepers off the line.
Like, do you know what it is? Like, if I dream of scoring, it ain't like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not the goal I'm dreaming about. You know what I mean? So no. But to be fair, I've worked with them girls, and she was a standout performer. To be fair, you could see that her technique was different. So that doesn't surprise me. Even again, this goal, wow. But her one last year as well.
I know, it was outrageous.
It was a clean strike, weren't it?
But
so
that's so difficult to do.
In a derby as well. That could be club goal of the season.
Yeah. Easy. I think it's got to be. I mean, you've got to say as well. I mean, arguably better than Cantona's. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you said it.
You said it. Yeah.
It gives it a run for the money.
Do you know, you talk about club goal of the season. That's just one of my favourite goals of this season. Full stop.
Yeah.
Across anything, because most people aren't thinking about chipping that. And most people can't chip it just like that as well.
Yeah, we seen. Let's talk about the Fernandez one. Worldy, by the way, last week.
Yeah.
But his was like a whip.
Yeah.
Wrapped. That was like, no, I'm going to dink you.
Yeah.
And you're on your line, but I'm just going to dink it over you.
And it was inch perfect.
Yeah.
Inch perfect. And Joleon, you said you worked with him. I mean, Lauren Hemp on the score sheet again. It seems
she was impressive as well. To be fair, all of them, their attitude and that is probably better than most male teams I've worked with. Their application to what they want to do was kind of evident, but there had a few that was just like, you could see they were really trying to be the best.
You've opened up a can of worms now for me. So when I was in the US, we had a women's team that was there, and they don't get the same limelight as the men. But they deserve all the support because they're working just as hard, if not harder, than the men. Because as well as having to work to be in that side, they're working to try and raise the profile of the game itself. You know, and as I say, to see, like, I can't wait for things to be better and we can be back in stadiums and stuff like this, because I want to take my girls, I want to take my son to go and watch those women play. Like, that's such a good brand of football, and these are all good people. I think whereas with football sometimes, for men's football specifically, you kind of lose a section of the humility when money becomes involved. I think in its purest form, some of women's football now, they have all the talent, all the technique and so on, but it has something whereby they all love to be with each other. They all love the game. And whereas you could argue the one or two players who say love the game purely for the money side of it in the men's sport, in the women, they just love the game. And to be able to see that there, you can relate to it, because that's why we all play.
Absolutely. And the also, I think as well, that it's got to be said, I've noticed over the last couple of years, I've been following it closely, the standard now of the WSL is the highest it's ever been. It only
There's a lot more full-time teams. Again, speaking to some of the ladies when I was working with them, and to hear their journeys to now, to like, we had some girls coming out of the select squad that were training 3-4 times a week. That Jill Scott said when she was professional, she was only training twice a week.
Wow.
And she was like having to travel 2 or 3 hours to get to a session. And I was like, she said the difference now is these girls are getting 3-4 times as many touches a week as that she was getting. So the technique is definitely improving, she said, and she's seen the difference the most.
It's all tense at the top of the WSL league as well with Chelsea there, so we will be following that indeed and keeping everything crossed for our women's team. Let's delve into the vault then. Of course, we are playing Spurs today, and we've got a couple games to jog your memories with, gentlemen. We're going to bring you start with you, Nedum, actually. So we've gone into the vault for a City game against Spurs in which you scored in.
Oh, did I?
You did. Let's talk us through it.
Pascal.
Go on, Pascal. What are you going to do? I should have done better with the slide. Harty's in there, club legend.
It was tough. So we go 1-0 down.
That's correct.
Robbie Keane.
That's correct. So we're heavy underdogs at this point. Surely we can't come back, can we?
Surely
we
not.
can't.
I mean,
it would be one hell of a comeback if we come. We can't come back from this. Surely.
Oh, wow. Stevie's tried his hardest to miss that.
We're full head ahead.
Oh, Stevie.
Stevie boy, yeah.
We bring it back to on Sven Göran Eriksson.
Fine.
We're going to need something.
Need a spark. Oh, have that. Blow some kisses. There you go, guys.
Jumping
down. There you go. That was over to my mum in the corner. First professional goal. I never thought.
Was that?
Actually,
was that really your first professional
goal?
You probably had 1,000 games at the time as well.
Wow, relax you. What a feeling that was. What a ball.
I mean, a bullet header though.
What year was that?
2007, I think.
Yeah, I think that might be my first Premier League season.
Was it really? Yeah.
It was
2006-07. Only because I remember the ball.
Yeah,
the ball. That was the soft ball. It was nice.
You only
I was used
appreciate
to
the ball.
Mitre. I was used to the Mitre.
Yeah, I was going to say the opposite. You only appreciate that night ball when you don't have it anymore.
I'd come from from there, grassroots.
You didn't miss any of that.
So many people are going to be loving that.
I swear down. It's like a medicine ball.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I come from the championship,
Really?
and it was like people weren't playing out from the back.
That's a fact. That's a
It was
fact.
definitely going long. So it was like a medicine ball.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
this is not the talking point, but do balls have they changed that much? They've made that much difference to what you can do.
Keepers will probably know that the most because it's all so. But you can see by the techniques that players are allowed to use. You couldn't use some of these techniques back in the day with the balls.
Finished, you try and wobble an old mitre from early 2000s. Yeah,
medial, you might do your medial. It's all sorts.
But Nedum, you weren't the only person to grab a goal against Spurs.
You're lying.
No.
I thought I was
Mine's not as glamorous as Nedum.
Let's see this.
I think I stole this.
I think this was we'll watch the kind of game play out. But it was a great game. This I remember.
I remember that ball. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Beautiful. David to Aguero. How many times have we said that?
See Carl there as well, fuming.
Carl, yeah.
That's so
Look, he's not even. No, it's Samir.
It's Samir, it's Nasri. That was a great partnership on it. David and Nasri together.
Talent-wise, that's a tackle. He's tackled it in there.
Now,
bare holds from Micah.
What's the technique here?
It's a tackle. I'm just trying to get it in the net.
Is that yours or is that an own goal?
Just shut up.
We need another angle of this. We need another angle. We need another angle.
Some a record, some a CV that. It's on there.
It's so funny.
That man, to be fair, whatever you say, penalties.
We could do with him, couldn't we?
Oh my God. That mindset of not caring, that is what you need. He was so cool at penalties.
Did you ever see him missing training? Because it's not the thing that he's actually never missed a penalty, I think, in his...
No. Did he miss in training? I can't remember. Yaya was terrible in training. I think Yaya has the record
Really?
11 in a row, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But in training, Joe Hart used to own him.
Wow.
Like he used, and talk to him about it during the penalties, and then save it, and he just could never beat it. He gave his head.
That's it's a great moment for me because I'll be honest, I'm now as good as Yaya because Joe used to live in my head as well. So when we used to do shooting practice,
Yaya's as bad as you.
Yeah, wow. Joe used to say, "You're not going to score against me. You're not going to score against me." Like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Never scored against him. There's a 6-month spell. Pathetic. Living in my head, he was.
Yeah. Airbnb.
So literally, me and Yaya, we're basically one and the same. Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't something I planned to talk about. While we're on it, I mean, penalties, it's becoming a little bit of a thing for us, isn't it? I mean, we or isn't it, Joleon?
Yeah, it is because we're missing, but it's not costing us anything at the moment.
Yeah.
I think when it kind of cost you points and progression, I think that's when you really kind of look at it and dwell on it. But as I said, it's just the games that we're missing. I mean, like Liverpool, especially like Kevin De Bruyne, that it just proves that there is pressure on them games because the players that are missing them, you wouldn't expect them to kind of miss a target. You know what I mean? Yeah, penalties can be saved, but to miss a target, I say that's surprising to me.
Do you think he's half serious when he says now Edison's kind of half in contention for a penalty?
I've heard about the bookies or whatever, putting some nice odds for him. I think it's 4-1 to score today.
Really?
Yes. Which are better odds than certain outfield players for Spurs. It's 4-1. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. To be fair, keepers, Joe Hart especially he took a world
Really?
Yeah.
He wanted to take him though.
I've told you my story with me, Joe, and Mike or whatever. So we were playing for the England under-21s, and we practiced all summer to get ready for a penalty shootout. And like Mike and I were a disaster, basically. So the manager at the time, shocked. So he wrote the list of what the order was going to be for this game, and it was against Sweden with 3-0 up at half time. We choked massively, went to 3-3, went to penalties.
Yeah.
I think Harty was either first or second, just stepped up, just walloped it in the top corner. And we've got like a nice little lead here. I'm number... Sorry. So remember, we've got 10 men. So I'm number 10. Yeah. Mike is number 9. Yeah. Harty's walloped it. James Milner's walloped it in. We're flying. Then we miss a couple, and it's drifting. I think we're sitting at like 5 or 6 now, and Micah turns to me and says, "Do you want to swap penalties?" So that Micah Richards you see on TV, that bubbly guy.
Not that guy.
Listen, when the light was on him, he was panicking, mate. He's asked me I'm the last man on the team to be taking a pen.
I can trump that. The Euros, mate. The Euros, when we play in Italy and it's gone to pens, and they're coming around and saying, I said, I will go after Joe Hart. He was number 10, because obviously the lads wanted to take him. I said, I'm not a hero. I know my role in this team, and take no penalties. I'm number 11. And I'll be happy with that as well.
That's brilliant. It's just the psychology, isn't it? There's certain players who step up to score, and certain players who step up worried about missing.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was worried about missing.
I don't want to have the accolade. I don't want to have that. I'm not trying to score. I'm worried about what? Missing? That's not for me.
Do you know what I mean? But that's like you say, the Balotelli mindset is probably the best one, kind of not caring, isn't it, in a way?
He actually didn't care, and he kind of, in them scenarios when there was pressure on him, that's when he was probably the most composed. I think when there was no pressure, he was just a bit erratic.
That's well. I'm in good company because Spellmans can never take penalties. That's been in our history books. Although if you want to go watch the Soccer AM clip, Kel taking a penalty, bottom left corner.
Oh wow,
lovely. Okay. Quickly, we also have to mention esports. I mean, it seems to be growing upon season after season, and Joleon, I know you do a lot of work kind of within that. It is.
It's crazy.
It's mad, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is a real sport. I think there's talk of it being part of the Paris 2024 Olympics.
Wow.
So again, I'm not sure what kind of games they'll be involved in it, but it's real. They're dedicated to their craft, them guys, and I just wished it was a thing when I was younger. Even though I paid a lot of attention.
Do you think you'd be good, huh? Is that what you said?
I know I would have been.
I
would have come out of football straight into that. I'm not a gamer. I can play FIFA, but I'm not a gamer.
It's
like
a whole different game. I think there was a tournament that's taken place this week. Anything around England. Unfortunately, I don't think our players managed to get through to those final rounds. But then we've got a tournament, the kind of Manchester City tournament taking place as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing you around there as well, Joleon. So definitely check that out. It's live from 6 p.m. on Monday, the 15th of February, and we'll be supporting our boys there as well. It's a lovely top, that as well. Now, on from esports, we have to talk about one man who is celebrating his 70th birthday. Unbelievable to say that. And some might say as well, he really came in and kind of sparked a change for the way that City play football and, of course, reached some magnificent stats with his team over the years. Mr. Kevin Keegan turning 70 years old. We want to wish him a massive happy birthday, but he did seem to bring something new to the club, didn't he, Nedum?
Yeah, he really did. He really did. Looking back at that time, to see the fact that he was managers, to see that we had like Bernabe, we had Berkovic and stuff like this. He was changing. He was looking like to go from what he was to the years that we had afterwards. It seems like he came way too early. Mm-hmm. But he truly was special, and I think I can say from my side as well, he was the one who provided me my debut. Mm-hmm. So I was 17 years of age, and he wanted to get me into the team, but he knew I wasn't going to be displacing Sylvain Destin or Richard Dunn, and he knew I had to work on this and work on that. But he still trusted me to go into the side, and I played it right back next to those people, and he said, you should learn from these people. And he made such a great effort to everybody in that team. I think overall he managed... like what the squad was. We had a Nicolas Anelka who loved to play for Man City in that time, like that Man City team. But then he had players who were coming through from the academy. He was great with them. I'd say he was great with me. And just a few things. This is to talk about one specific story. I remember we were playing in a pre-season game. I was playing centre-back. A ball went down the channel. I ran down to get it. The tackle was on my back, and I just rolled it out of play. And they had a throw, and we just played on. After the game, says, come on, son, I want the best for you. So in those moments, I want you to get the ball, I want you to roll it back to the keeper, and he's going to start the next attack. And he was the first manager through, because what City's academy was at that time wasn't like a complete ball-playing philosophy type thing, but he showed the importance of showing personality and character on the field.
Yeah, wow.
And trying to do things the right way. And as I say, to go from that to what came where we weren't scoring goals or weren't doing anything at all shortly after, you know, I feel honoured to have been managed by him. And
it seems to be as well, it's the moments that you appreciate at the time, but even more so when you look back and go, actually, his legacy at the club is well and truly cemented. Would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Like the style of football that City played coming up from the Championship and for the time when he was playing and when he was in the Premier League, yeah, like that's not normal. You know what I mean? That's not normal. That was a real blessing to see that. And then from my side to have been supporting that, to then have the chance to play with it, like it was. I'm so lucky. I remember that story. That story was literally from 17 years ago.
Wow.
But I remember thinking, Kevin Keegan's just told me something about how he believes I'm a really good player and I can do this to become even better. Amazing. And then he gave me opportunity, and I was like, you know, here I am. 6 years
and the rest
later.
is history.
Exactly,
yeah. Incredible. Well, massive happy birthday to Kevin Keegan there. And we've also got a very special shout out that we have to give, of course, to one of our brand new Manchester City TV docs all around our scouting system. Now, as we are aware, the CFG continues to expand. And what is required to go with that, of course, is a global scouting network. And we're going to be giving you some more insight into just how they go about that with our clubs around the world. Here's a little trailer.
Just a quick update on the Argentinian player.
Well, we're a little bit unusual in the sense of what we ask our scouts to do, as we know our model is multi-clubs.
Difícil é olhar onde ninguém está olhando.
Soccer in the US is growing.
Will we find really good young Chinese talent? What we're trying to do is essentially uncover fundamental truths about the game.
You can change somebody's life and give somebody the break that allows them to be on the pathway to hopefully superstar.
Remember the day I told Pep to look at him. He saw him and said, we do not need to wait any longer. Sign him.
What we're really looking for is players who have everything.
Fascinating stuff. I think that's always a part of the game that we always want to know a little bit more on, but we never quite get it. So if you do want to get that insight, go check it out. City Plus is the place to be, and of course a whole load of other original content on there for you to enjoy as well. And while we're shouting things out, we want to give a massive happy birthday shout out to John Frost Hargreaves. Now, he's been a lifelong City fan. All he's known is City fans. I mean, straight from his dad Arthur. Here he is now. He's celebrating his 90th birthday. Born in Ardwick in 1930. 31, one of those special lifelong Blues. So we wanted to take a moment here on We're Not Really Here and wish you, John, a massive happy birthday from all of us at the club. And of course, recently as well, we know that you've suffered a bereavement with the loss of your wife in April. So we just want to send our condolences and hope that you're okay. And Beryl is in all our thoughts. But a massive happy birthday. And hopefully Manchester City will bring you a lovely present as we beat Spurs later on, just under 15 minutes until kick-off. Now, we, of course, have got to get to our supporters club as well. We do this every week. You're from all around the world. We want to celebrate you and highlight the brilliant sports club that you give us and offer where you are. This week is no different, and we are heading over to Morocco.
Hi, it's Nabil Safir here from the Moroccan Citizen branch. I'm based in Casablanca and I've been supporting City since 2009. And just a year ago, my friends and I decided to launch an official branch in order to meet other Moroccan citizens. We don't have a dedicated place where we meet usually, but we watch City often in the Fifth Coffee and the city center. We have a great community here in Morocco, not only in Casablanca, but all around the country. I was planning to watch the city and having our branch flag at the top of the Etihad, but unfortunately the lockdown came. Hope we can have this opportunity after the pandemic finish. Waiting for that. Hope that our players stay at the top as usual. And I'm inviting the other supporters to stay behind the club and the players. Hope that this year and the next coming years be the best ever for our beloved club. Back to the studio.
Reason to hate him.
Thank you so much to our supporters club over in Morocco. It's always great to hear from you, and again, another place for us to visit, gents. We're stocking them up around the world. We could actually do a world tour of our supporters clubs.
I've missed them tours.
I think actually we can pick documentary series for the fans. Cal, Joleon, Nedum. We go to the supporters club around the world.
Road trip.
Yeah,
yeah.
There we go.
Life.
They love that in the gallery. They love that. Okay, yeah, we'll find the budget somewhere. Okay, and our final shout-out, of course, is who is our junior blue this week? Well, this week we're going to be handing over to 9-year-old Juliet. Favourite players, Sergio Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, but also said, I like Phil Foden as well. You are our junior blue of the week.
Hello everyone, my name is Julia and I am 9 years old from Malta and I am the junior citizen of the match for tonight's game against Tottenham Hotspur. Come on City!
Come on, City! Also, giving me a run for my money on the presenting job there. It's very professional.
Yeah,
very professional indeed. Names like that. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's true. That's you know that.
Thank you to Juliet. If you've just tuned in, thanks for joining us on We're Not Really Here. Manchester City take on Spurs at the Etihad in 15 minutes. Let's recap some team news. Our starting 11 is Edison, Cancelo, Stones, Laporte, Zinchenko, Rodri, Gundogan, Bernardo, Raheem Foden, Gabriel Jesus. And we're taking on a Spurs team in the form of Lloris, Tangana, Sanchez, Dyer, Davis, Højbjerg, Ndombele, Lamela, Lucas, Son and Kane. We were touching upon it before, kind of, obviously the Diaz is a big surprise, but actually, Nedum, that it feels like we might see a slightly more attacking Spurs team, which to me then says that plays into City's hands, does it?
I think so. I think most teams when they play against City, they don't really want to enter a shootout, because the fact of the matter is I think City have more dangerous players and more structure in terms of how they attack. So I think it will suit City better. I think in terms of what type of game will it be a high-scoring game? Potentially, now that you've seen the Spurs team, yes. And I think City can outscore anyone, basically. So that's a positive for me. But I think the way that Jose Mourinho team is, doesn't really matter what the personnel is. Obviously, they have to work hard to be in that side. So even though they have got players who are more attack-minded, they'll be doing their jobs. But I think I like it more, because it just means the jobs they'll be doing in terms of defensively, it's not in their first nature.
Yeah.
So,
I agree there. But I also feel that they have forward-thinking players in their attacking position, but better defensive-minded players in their defensive positions. Like Tanganga is a defender. He likes to defend. You see that in his game. Even if he was playing against a lesser team, I can't imagine him getting forward that often anyway, because he enjoys that part of the game. So I think the balance is right for them. I think it's going to be a better game for the players he selected for a neutral, but and also for a City point of view, like Nedum said, some of their players' first four is mostly going to be attacking.
And looking at we can see our boys they're warming up. I naturally now you kind of want to be drawn to Phil Foden, but who are you looking towards to on our team? You think that could be a difference today in Spurs, Joleon?
Today, I don't know today. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if it's any one of them players. Like, I don't think we are, but it feels like Raheem's taken for granted because he's not getting in. I thought against Liverpool, he was man of the match.
Agreed.
As well as Phil played, like his 90-minute contribution to that game was ridiculous. That was probably the best I think he's played. Even if he hadn't scored, he still would have done the most to me. So I'm excited to see him again. I think he's playing really well at the moment. And again, I think other players are playing well, but because it's potentially new that we're seeing Gundogan score so many goals, it's a new thing. We're seeing Phil Foden play in a different position where I think we're just used to seeing Raheem do what he does and kind of it being downplayed a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course wearing the captain armband as well, which I'm sure he'll be doing today. Quickly before we get into, we're going to bring you Mystery Blue and our predictions, but curious case of Gareth Bale. There's kind of been a lot of talk this week. It is a funny one. I mean, when he comes on, he's obviously going to be a threat and a worry, but he just, whether it's fitness, it's a tough one to work out, I guess, isn't it, Nedum?
Yeah, it is, as a City guy, I'm quite happy that he's on the bench today, because even if he's not at his best, he's still a threat.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what the reasoning is for him not playing week in, week out after moving from where he's moved from. But the fact of the matter is he's somebody who still has a lot of potential and has a lot left in the tank going forward. So, yeah, it's interesting. He seems to need to have everything aligned to be at his best, which isn't the norm, I'd say, for most elite players, because you look at someone like Ronaldo or whatever, who's playing 60 games a season and he's getting kicks for the last 15 years.
Slightly different, though, because I feel he's lived his life to do that, and his career has always been that. For me, it's kind of like most, if not, high percentage of players are like sports cars, and then you have some players that are like F1 cars, and if one thing's out, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what happens with Gareth Bale. The worrying thing for me is that he chose to tweet that it was a good session. So that would mean he's put a little bit of pressure on himself. If you're saying you're fine and you haven't been selected, that means you have to go and produce. When selected. True. So if he comes on today, he has to justify him saying, I'm okay.
Before.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll do well because he's got a chip on his shoulder, though.
Possibly.
And maybe that
hopefully he doesn't.
Hopefully he doesn't. But in regards to Jose Mourinho, it wouldn't surprise me if he set that all up himself, the mind games and stuff like that.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I only thought this, I think it was last week. I remember when Pep had a passing comment about the Harry Kane team, and it kind of really rattled Spurs' cages. But when he picked up that injury, Spurs seemed to look nowhere near as strong as what they were. So are they just are they a Harry Kane team, or is there a bit more to them that we've yet to see?
They are more to them. I think every team relies on their best player.
Yeah,
I think he's right in what he's saying, because you take out any one best player to their team, it's going to hinder them again. And Harry Kane's scored 50% of their goals in the last few seasons. So why wouldn't that hinder their performances? We've seen it hinder ours. We've had Sergio at the start of the season, but we have an abundance of player to kind of adapt to that. They don't have that, so it makes sense that would diminish their...
I think it's a style of play thing, isn't it, as well? So their style of play seems to be built around what Kane is as a player, as opposed to a style of play which is just a style of play for the club. I think it's in some ways it's the equivalent of being, say, like a long ball team without a target man.
Yeah.
Yes, you can still try and do the same thing, but the effect isn't the same. Everyone else can still be in the same positions, but it's not the same. And Harry Kane, he can hold the ball up.
Yeah.
He can have the threat behind. He's got a good eye for a pass, and he's a great finisher. You take away that, and it's the same as like when they miss Son sometimes. Are they as effective on the break when you don't have somebody who's breaking their back to get in behind?
100%.
That matters.
Just because we haven't seen them without Son, so we don't know that it's not a Son team. So you take out Son and just have Harry Kane. Just Harry Kane, is he as effective?
Yeah.
We don't know that yet, so again, we'll just have to wait and see.
Remains to be seen. All right, before we get to predictions, let's take a quick look at our Mystery Blue. And our producer and director today, Tom, says no one's getting that. So if that doesn't want to get you involved, use the hashtag WNRH and tell us who do you think this is. We're going to have a look here in the studio as well. Okay. So producer Dom has set the marker down.
I know that is.
You got it?
Yeah.
Well, when Richard said it that quick, he got it right. Okay, Joleon, we'll get your guess maybe at half-time. Nedum, do you think you might have a little guess?
Yeah, I think it's during Joleon's time there, but I know what he's trying to say. He's throwing someone off. I get what he's doing there.
All right, okay. There you go, Nedum. Tom, you've been seen through by Nedum anew. How about that one? We are just under 5 minutes till kickoff, but before we get to the game, prediction time, and we are going to begin with you, Joleon Lescott.
Predictions. Again, you can't bet against Kane and Son not scoring with the contribution they've had this season. So I'm going to go City 3-1.
Nice. Okay, I like that. I think I was leaning towards that. Maybe. What are you feeling?
I agree with you. You can't bet against those two. They're just, they don't. As we've seen in the games that the teams have played recently, like they don't need to dominate the ball, or dominate anything, but they just need to take the chances. Those two are capable of doing that. But I still think a City win. But I'm thinking it might be an uncomfortable 2-1 City win.
Okay, right. Well, we'll see if any of our predictions are right. I think I'm maybe 3-1 myself today, Joleon. I think possibly. But we'll see who gets right at full time. Remember, we'll be with you at half time to get into the first half, and then be back with you once 90 minutes has been up. Go get yourself a cup of tea, and hopefully we're talking about a City win. Come on, City.